Hello, hello, and welcome to our third week in our Song of Solomon study. Just to recap and let everybody know, we are taking 37 weeks to do this study, this book of the Bible. We are using a book by Brian and Candace Simmons, the same man who has done the Passion Translation, which we've been following since through the Psalms, and it's called The Sacred Journey, God's Relentless Pursuit of Our Affection. Um, so we're just going to camp out in verse 5 this week. And I love doing the scriptures in this kind of intimacy and this kind of detail. I love it. I just love getting lost in the words in the Bible and let him speak to us. So this week in verse 5, it starts out with, from verse 4, there's this chorus of friends. We will remember your love, rejoicing and delighting in you, celebrating your every kiss is better than wine. No wonder righteousness adores you. So there's this chorus of friends, and then coming out of this crowd is this voice of the Shulamite. So she's being called into intimacy, and this strikes me because we're called to a one-on-one relationship with Jesus Christ. We can't take on our parents' relationship with Jesus. We can't take on our church's relationship with Jesus. We can't take on somebody else's relationship with Jesus. We are called to a one-on-one, face-to-face, heart-to-heart relationship with the King of Kings. We're called out of the crowd by name for his purposes. So as she comes out of this crowd, there's a vulnerability in that. There's a vulnerability that comes like there's safety in numbers, you know. So there's this vulnerability of coming and stepping toward the king, right? So she comes out of the crowd, and there's this voice of the Shulamite woman, and as she comes into his presence, the first thing that she's struck with is her unworthiness. And I can speak to that. I feel that. I feel this as the vulnerability as she steps forward, the trepidation of standing before the king, and oh, it's Jesus, and he's so holy, and he's so good. And oh my gosh, he's heaven's darling. And here I am, this lowly worm standing before him. And I just have to look down and I just have to say, oh my gosh, I am not worthy to be in your presence. I'm not worthy, Jesus. I shouldn't be standing here. I shouldn't be. I'm so unworthy. I'm so in need of you, but I'm so unworthy of you. And I love that he interrupts her. I love that he interrupts that thought. And he says, yet you're so lovely. And I can almost feel the Shulamite, she's looking down. And in this moment when he says, yet you are so lovely, that she would dare to look up and look at heaven's darling and look him in the eyes and say, who, me? Me? Surely you're not talking about me. I'm so lovely in your presence. And she says, I feel as dark and dry as the desert tents of the wandering nomads. No, I'm, I'm dry. There's nothing left in me. I have nothing to give you. I am dark. I am dry. There is sin in me. I have nothing that I can offer you, my king. And he says, yet you are so lovely, like the fine linen tapestry hanging in the holy place. You are so lovely. You are the most precious linens that hang in the secret chambers of the tabernacle. And can you just feel the life springing into her heart in that moment, that she might believe who he says she is, that she might just grasp who he says she is, not who the world says she is, and not who we've come to believe we are, but maybe just allowing his truth to be. It's staggering. It's staggering as we put ourselves in the Shulamite shoes and as we stand before our king. So in the drawing this week, I've got this girl and she's looking down, because that is truly how I see the Shulamite leaving the mass and coming before the king. Her head is down and she can't even look at heaven's darling. I can't look at you. I'm not worthy to be I'm not worthy to be singled out. I'm not worthy to even step forward and want more of you. Like, just looking down. And there's going to be this little thought bubble. And in my head, I kind of saw it as Pigpen. in Charlie Brown. You know, Pigpen always had this like little squiggles of dirt all around him. And that's what I think this thinking is, this stinking thinking that tries to keep us down and out of his presence, and that we're not worthy to be in his presence, but he doesn't care. He says, come on. But that stinking thinking. And then there's going to be this crown that I place around her, because this, when he says, yet you are so lovely, yet you are so lovely. So here I'm drawing in these hearts, because when we allow him to, he changes our thinking. He changes who we are. We become who he created us to be as we stop and we allow the thinking to be transformed into everything that is pure and holy and lovely. So this story brought me to Gideon. And as I was praying through this week, I kept thinking about Gideon. And so here, Gideon can be found in Judges 6. And I'm going to read from my amplified version just for this part. And in Judges 6, verse 12, the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, the Lord is with you, you mighty man of fearless courage. Make no mistakes. Gideon was from the weakest tribe of Israel. Gideon was afraid. Gideon was threshing the wheat at night so that he would not be seen, would not be heard. Gideon lived under a constant fear. And the angel of the Lord appears to him and says, I see you, mighty man of fearless courage. So God calls out in Gideon what he knows is inside. He calls it into being. He helps Gideon see a different way and a different perspective. So I think about the Shulamite woman here, and I think about her standing before the king and feeling so unworthy, and like Gideon, just feeling so afraid. I'm so afraid. And the Shulamite bride saying, I'm so unworthy. And Jesus looks into us and he calls out that which he sees. He doesn't worry about what we present with. He calls us into tomorrow. He calls us into relationship. He calls into that which he created us to be. He knows our very DNA. He knows what's inside us, and he calls that by name. The Shulamite is lovely, lovely in his eyes, because he knows that he created her to be lovely. Gideon is a fearless man of courage, because he created him to be a fearless man of courage. Who did God create you to be? That's the question for this week. Who did God create you to be, and who is he calling into tomorrow? Let's individually step away from the crowd. Let's individually come before our King, corporately, individually come before our King, and allow him to sing our identity into our souls. And let's do this. Let's take an incredible leap of faith, and let's try to look up and believe him. Believe the love song that's being sung over you, and believe that he created you for such a time as this, for such a purpose as this. All right, guys. I'll see you next week in week 4. Thank you. Bye, guys. God bless.